Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on Forgotten Weapons. Today we're taking a look at the final hammer prices from the December 2019 Rock Island auction. We'll go ahead and start with the Semiauto Tippman 1917. These things are fantastically cute little guns, and they actually had two of them in this auction. Serial number 1, which sold for $15,000, and serial number 2, which sold for $5,600. So someone paid almost a $10,000 premium for serial number 1, which I don't entirely understand. This is, by the way, my favorite version of the SMLE, I think. The number 1 Mark V. It was a short production, sort of a trials pattern. Unfortunately, this one, I guess, had a reserve higher than anyone was willing to pay, and it ultimately did not sell. So unfortunate, but that's what happens when you set the price too high. Same thing happened with the small frame Colt Lightning. I suspect as well that these are probably the least desirable of the overall patterns. We did a video with a small, a medium, and a large frame. Small frame wasn't in bad shape. It's not all that common, or it wasn't as common in this auction. But what we see here is that the other two did sell. The medium frame was a particularly nice example. Much better condition than the large frame, but didn't sell for quite as much. So $2,300 for the medium, and basically $3,500 for the large frame. Large frame being the rarest of the Colt Lightnings. Compared to only $2,000 for the Smith carbine, this is a legit Civil War breech loader, a cool gun, and in really good shape. And so some people might wonder why only, quote unquote, $2,000. Well, the reality is a lot of the Smith carbines stayed in storage and weren't actually issued, so there are a lot of them that are in really nice condition, and that keeps the price low. Terry and Calisher is a much rarer gun, another very interesting design that, unfortunately for the designers, didn't really acquit itself well for conversion to cartridge firing. This one didn't sell, I think, because of a combination of condition. This was a fairly rough gun, and a high asking price because it was a decorated and presentation gun. We had two of these 7-barreled Pieper Mitrailleuse, basically commercial hunting guns. The 32 rimfire version sold for a substantial $7,500. It was very nice. These are quite rare. Not very many of them ever were made in the first place. The other one was a 22 rimfire, which apparently is less desirable. Brought about 2/3 as much. Same ratio in caliber as in price. $4,600. The cool thing to me about the 22 caliber one was that it actually had that loading plate, where the 32 caliber did not. So if you actually wanted to shoot this one, you could. We had a pair of Silver and Fletcher, quote unquote, the experts. These are, again, fairly rare modifications to Webley revolvers, and you can see that in the basic standard one with a fair amount of finish wear sold for almost $3,000. You got a little bit of a premium for the cased version, which was really nice. I think the cased was the one that someone got a really good deal on there. Not sure why this one went as high. I think it's probably just that turret revolvers are not particularly common. There aren't that many variations of them out there, and they were never all that popular, so not many were ever made. Basically $5,000 for this little 10-shot. We have a couple of modern rifles, a factory scoped FN-FAL, actually Herstal made, so not a clone rifle. Those always bring substantial money, and having the original scope on this one was just a really nice bonus. Those scopes are probably $1,000 minimum just for the scope, so that didn't really surprise me. Not really that much surprise here. This is a little higher than I might have expected. The FAL modified to 5.56 wasn't really a military thing. There were some military pattern rifles similar to this, but not this actual, just a FAL conversion. So $2,900, a little higher than I'd expect. We have a really good example here of prices on AR-180s. These came out really very much as I would have expected. The one that gets the most premium is the Costa Mesa, made in the US, and that brought $2,600. And you had 10 or 15% less for the Howa and the Sterling guns. Generally, I would expect to see Howa a little more valuable than Sterling, but things always vary. And then you can expect 10 times the price of a semi-auto for a transferable full auto, $23,000 for the AR-18 machine gun. This was, of course, the price winner for the guns that I did videos on. This was the nicest known extant Powell Cartridge Counter. It's a Luger, it's got American Army provenance, it's a trials gun, it's in gorgeous condition. All of those things put together give you a hammer price of $125,000. Sometimes, there are some areas of collecting that attract people with more money, and Lugers are definitely one of those. So you get an American Army Luger, you get a high price. There were a couple other Lugers that we took a look at. The Persian ones sold for quite a nice amount. The artillery Luger there did also have the stock and leather and went for $7,500. The regular Persian P08 went for just about $7,000, which is, I would have expected there to be a little more dichotomy between those two. Bulgarian, another rather rare one, and who knows, maybe someone liked the fact that this is actually a 1911 that is also a Luger, but brought almost $5,000. Not great condition on that. Lugers in particular are an area where we will see condition make a huge difference in price. We had two different high powers that I took a look at here, one Lithuanian, one Estonian. Neither one of them have any substantial mechanical modifications away from the standard high power pattern, but they are both rare small batch contracts that are pretty cool, especially if you're interested in the history of specifically Lithuania or Estonia. So these perform pretty much as I would have expected. Some of the rare high powers like this do bring a substantial amount of money. I mentioned with Lugers that condition makes a big difference. Well, the same thing is really true across the board. You can get a rough, kind of a beat up Ballester-Molina for a lot less than this, but once you get into those very high percentage conditions, that's when the value really kind of goes up, as we see with 2300 for a very nice Ballester. Hard for me to comment very much about the value on this, the Czech 1919, because it was sold as a lot of two pistols, and to be honest, I didn't do any looking into the other one, the 1936 CZ. So I don't know what it's worth and how that compared to the Czech. It is a lot of money for a pair of old Czech pistols, though. Same thing with the Kommers. These are both very nice condition guns, which I think helped boost their value. And these sold as a pair. So you got the 3 and the 4, someone did, for $2,900. These are basically Nazi-era pistols, developed earlier, but manufactured into the beginning of the Nazi regime. Coming towards the end here, a Webley 22 target. It was, again, very nice condition, an unusual, rare pattern, and you'll get there is a good fraternity of Webley collectors that are very interested in that sort of thing, and that's what you get there. They are super cool revolvers. The Dardick, no surprise here, went for big money. I've been actually watching for one of these that I could do a video on for a couple of years now, and they are really quite rare. Interestingly, the ammo is not nearly as rare as the guns are, so unfortunately a lot of the ammo doesn't really work anymore. The plastic cartridge cases have gotten brittle, but if this guy wants more ammo, it won't be hard for him to find. These are a little bit more of a mystery to me as why they brought so much. They were, these were very expensive guns when they were originally manufactured, and I think that's basically what's going on here. Is they haven't really gone down in value. They haven't gone up a ton. Even the engraved one, that's for $2,500 is probably fairly close to what that one cost when it was brand new. So it's definitely a very limited market for these. They don't have any historical provenance to them, beyond the 1970s. And so there is a limited market, and that prevents them from getting more expensive. Similar sort of thing here. If there was any other example of a semi-auto grease gun, the Valkyrie guns I think would drop in value quite a bit, but there isn't any other real alternative. And so anyone who wants to, say, do any reenacting or have a placeholder for a grease gun in a World War II collection, this is your only option, and that keeps the prices high. Now, the last two we've got here are a pair of very odd shotguns, and they both kind of mystify me a little bit. The build quality on this Bullpup weird thing was not particularly great, or didn't look like it to me. Why? I mean, someone shelled out $2,300 for that. I really don't quite understand. I really don't understand what drove this 3-barreled percussion gun as high as it did. Maybe someone else recognized provenance to it that I didn't. There wasn't really anything on the way of markings. If someone else knew that this was a particular manufacturer that had a specific value, that could explain the price. Beyond that, yes, it's unusual. That doesn't necessarily convey monetary value, although I guess it certainly did in this case. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed all of the coverage from the the December Rock Island Premier Auction. Stick around, we will have more auction firearms coming up in a couple months. Thanks for watching.